Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the last night of our meditation retreat. I hope you're all going well. It's been a wonderful retreat. Interviews have been very interesting. Very pleased that many of you have had some great experiences. And wow, yeah. Some really good outcomes on this retreat. So very happy with that. This evening we're going to talk a little bit about what to do after the retreat, because, well, obviously you can't do lifting, raising, moving, placing as you're walking around in the streets. So how do we continue with the practice after our meditation retreat is over? So we'll talk a little bit about that, how to apply the practice. And sometimes we feel that, after a retreat, especially after a successful retreat, it can be very easy to think that, oh, wow, I can manage the whole world now. This is going to be very easy. But it's very rarely like that, unfortunately. So what I'd like to kind of talk about is a little bit, how do we apply the DHAMMA in our daily lives? How do we bring it into practice as best we can? And from my own experience, I've found that integrating the DHAMMA practice into our daily life can be quite tricky. It's not at all easy after practicing in a secluded environment when many of the challenges are removed from us. When we go back into family life or back into work life or relationship life, then we're really tested with how well our practice is going. And it's a bit of a joke amongst the Western monks. If you think that you're enlightened, well, perhaps you should go and spend a week with your family and see how you go. So, now having said that, we can choose to live by dharmic principles in our lives, and that's probably the best way to introduce Dhamma into our practice, into our lives. Quite often there's an understanding that we should try and bring meditation into our daily lives. But I'd like to suggest the opposite of that. Perhaps we should be bringing our daily lives into our meditation practice. Perhaps we should have a priority on our meditation development and our Dharma development, and try to fit the other things, the other parts of our life into that. And that would be bringing our practice into the next level, so to speak. One thing's for sure, if you want to reduce stress, if you want to reduce suffering, worries, anxieties, depressions and concerns, we need to reduce our sense of self. And how do we do that in our daily lives? The answer's quite simple. We reduce our selfishness. We stop taking ourselves first. We stop believing that we're the sun and the whole world is rotating and rotating around us. Whereas in fact, we can look at it another way. Try to reduce your sense of self and try to fill your present moment experience with loving kindness and compassion and empathy and equanimity. These 4 Brahma Viharas are very, very useful in our daily life, in our daily practice. So we should try to encourage the arising of these states in the present moment. And they can be very, very useful for reducing selfishness in our practice. I often get asked, how do we continue with our practice after the retreat? What should I keep doing? Do I need to keep meditating for 10 hours a day? Well, certainly, if you'd like to, you should. That's not always easy, not always practicable, and not always what we want to do in our lives. So, how much meditation do we do? I'd like to suggest that you just start with 20 minutes. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, if you can manage that. And if it's a good sitting, stretch it out. See how far it can go. Take it out to 40 minutes. Take it out to an hour. We've been doing 45-minute walks, 45-minute sits at home. Try 15 minutes walking and 30 minutes sitting, 45-minute session. Try to fit that into your busy schedule if you can. However, it's not the main practice. It's good to have a formal practice. It's good to sit down. It's good to do the walking meditation. But if you really want to continue with your practice that you've developed on the retreat, you'll need to practice a little bit more continuously than that. So I would like to suggest to you that perhaps you should try to fill every hour with just 3 minutes of presence. Try to get into the habit of bringing your awareness into the present moment, bringing your awareness constantly and continuously back to this place of noting and knowing, back to this observation station where you can develop and maintain a sense of awareness in the present moment. And just note anything that's going on. Of course, it's not always easy to do that, and we often try to blame the external situations for what's going on. Everybody always faces difficulties in their life, unwanted experiences, or we lose balance, we generate negativity, our partner annoys us for something, our family kind of gets under our skin in some way. Certainly our boss always telling us what to do is not a great way to live. But it's very often and common for us to try to blame the world for how we are feeling or how we're experiencing things. To look outside and blame or judge. It's because of he did this or she did that. That's why I'm experiencing these mental states. But look inside is what I would like to suggest to you. Have a look and really see where is the problem. If you see inside, if you notice inside, you'll understand that there are no problems externally to your own experience. It's not the world that is generating negativity. It's not the world that's resisting. It's not the world that is creating expectations and wishing things to be different than how they actually are. Negativity is always generated internally. And so we should all stand up for that. We should accept responsibility for our suffering. We should try to see that suffering is generated by our own reaction patterns. So have a look at that. If there's something in your life that you're finding is difficult and problematic, maybe it's time to start adjusting your attitude and looking at it differently this time. If it's an ongoing situation that you have with something or somebody, maybe it's time to turn it around, generate a little bit of loving kindness towards that person. Most often, people that are unpleasant to us or are difficult to us are experiencing something which is very troublesome to them. They're undergoing some form of stress. They don't know how to manage that stress. They don't know what to do with that stress. And that makes them, it makes them tricky to manage. They lash out. They speak unfortunate words to us, or they treat us in a way that we don't want to be treated. And so sometimes, I'm not saying that we should tolerate abuse, but sometimes it's good to understand that people are often in a very tricky situation in their own lives, and that their reaction patterns are causing their bad behavior or their bad speech. So yes, the world does have terrible things going on. It's not a perfect place, but have a look at what your own experience is and see how you're reacting to things. See how you're taking the experience personally. Because if we take things personally, if we make it personal, then very often we'll start to suffer. If we take someone else's opinion or views about something personally, that can cause a lot of difficulties. So we have a look at that and we start to examine that. As far as your daily practice is concerned, yes, formal meditation is good. Do 20 minutes or do 40 minutes or do an hour every day if you can. And if you can do more than that, even better. The best practice, as I just said, is to activate your awareness in the present moment and just notice what is the presently arising state. And do it for 3 minutes. And if you can, do it for 5 minutes every hour of your life. Set your alarm on your phone or on your watch, and just when that alarm goes off, this is my time to be present. And just close your eyes, activate your awareness, and just be still. Get used to activating presence. A big part of mindfulness practice is remembering to be mindful. So if we can try to do that in our daily lives, as busy as they are, everyone can afford 3 minutes. We look at our phones very, very often, and maybe just one of those times we can just remember to look internally, to be present, to activate our awareness. It's good to have a place in your home for your meditation. Set it up. If you have a corner of a room or you have an actual dedicated room, that's even better. Find a place where you can sit. Put a couple of candles there if that delights you. Light some incense. Have a Buddha image if you want to. Those types of things can be very beneficial in making us sit down. If you get into a bit of a practice, a bit of a ritual of doing your meditation at a certain time every day, that can also be quite helpful. And don't just set it up in your house and then walk around it all day. Remember to try and sit on it as well. That's also important. It's not just a place that you can show off to your friends. Oh, this is my meditation seat that I never sit on. Make sure you sit on it. And it doesn't have to be a fancy meditation cushion. It can just be a sofa. Just cross your legs on the sofa, sit up, and do your practice instead of looking at the internet or the TV or any other things that we use to distract ourselves. Another way of practicing the Dhamma in our daily life is during the waiting times, whenever we're waiting for something. Quite often we have to wait for things to happen. If we're at the bus stop or the train station, or you're waiting in a line in the supermarket, or any of those, you're waiting for someone to come over. Nowadays we just pick up our phones and try to entertain ourselves for a few minutes while we're waiting. Try to get out of that habit of distraction. If you want to concentrate your mind, if you want to keep your mind present, you're going to have to reduce distractions in your life. You should try to remove distractions in your daily life so that you can become more present. So what I'd like to suggest to you is waiting. Use any opportunity where you have to wait for something to turn inward, to actually become aware of the body as it's standing there. Feel your feet touching the floor. If there's any smells in the room, make a note of the smells. If there's any sounds occurring, make a note of the hearing. Become aware of those 6 sense doors in the present moment and just observe. You don't have to have any expectations of getting anything from the practice. Don't try to go into a deep state of samadhi while you're standing in the supermarket, but just bring yourself into the present moment. Activate those mental states, and so that they become regularly used, so that they can be maintained. We want to try and maintain our practice. Our maintenance practice is necessary. And as far as some of you have had very deep meditative experiences this retreat, some of you have even reached insight and seen the first stage of the nature of reality. You've seen for yourself the nature of the mind and body process. If you want to continue at this level, then an absolute minimum of practice is 1 hour a day. Less than 1 hour, you'll find that your meditation practice will very rapidly just drop off and you'll return back to a normal state. For some of you, you may want to go back to normal. It may have been a little bit too much to see the nature of the matrix. If you practice between 1 and 3 hours a day, then we call that a maintenance practice. You should be able to maintain a fairly high level of awareness, a high level of wisdom on a day-to-day basis, practicing between 1 and 3 hours, if you're really practicing, And then if you want to deepen your practice, I suggest more than 3 hours a day to make further progress. So it's up to you how much you want to meditate. It's up to you how quickly you want to progress in the Dhamma. Always remember that our meditation practice is just a vehicle for the development of the faculties. It's a vehicle for the development and understanding of Dhamma. Use those times in your life. Practice on public transport. Take a few moments during the day if you work in an office and just become present. Just, pretend you're staring at a computer screen if you need to, and just become aware of the sense doors and how alive they can be. Be aware that there is seeing and hearing and touching. Those sense doors are always in operation. You just need to turn your attention to them. You need to bring your awareness to the fact that they're going on, that those things are functioning. We get caught in the content of our experience. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves. And in this vein, we should practice some restraint in our sense doors. Try to limit your indulging of the sense doors. Of course, you can listen to music and eat cake and do all those wonderful things that humans like to do, but also be aware while you're doing it. That's the important point. Don't just unmindfully eat your meals. You can eat whatever you like. No one's stopping you from eating, but be aware of how you are eating and what is your level of greediness in that moment. How are you experiencing the food? Do you need to take so much food? I'm a person that likes food a lot, and I really have to do that practice. Otherwise, I find myself just wanting to eat all the time. So have a look at that and try to see for yourself what is necessary. The Buddha said that the ideal amount of eating is to eat at a single session, to eat 1 meal a day. Now that's pretty difficult for most people, especially if you're a social eater. Much of our eating goes on in a social context. We eat with our family, we eat with our friends, we eat with our business colleagues. And so you'll find that eating one meal a day can be quite tricky. But perhaps you can think about just limiting to 2 meals a day. Have you felt hungry during the retreat? Does your body need more food than 2 meals a day? And that's something that you can examine for yourself. So, daily practice, set up a formal place that you can sit. Try to do a formal sitting every day. Try to activate your awareness during the day again and again and again, preferably at least 3 minutes every hour. That will just keep you in touch with the present moment. And thirdly, I'd like to talk about doing some retreats. So you've all just done a retreat. If you want to do another retreat with us, you're very welcome to do that. Some of you are on your second retreat now. Some of you did the retreat last month as well, or the retreat at the beginning of the month. So you're welcome to come and join us. What I would like to emphasize to you as far as retreats are concerned, do them when you have the opportunity. Life sometimes gets busy. We end up in a relationship, we end up with a child, or we borrow money from the bank so we don't have the opportunity to stop working, or many things. We have elderly parents that we have to care for, or pets we have to take care of. Life can get pretty busy. I'd like to offer you this suggestion that have wisdom, recognize when you have the opportunity to do a longer retreat. A longer retreat like 60 days or 90 days is highly recommended. On a longer retreat, you can go really deep. You can drop your expectations of trying to get something from the practice. You can just live and do the practice well supported and continuously, and really reach some deep understandings about the nature of the mind and the body. And when you do reach those understandings, a lot of suffering is released. We let go a lot of our problems and our difficulties in life when we see that actually they're not such big problems at all. As far as practicing in the world, the Buddha gave us these beautiful, he called them loka dhammas. They're the eight loka dhammas. They're made up of 4 pairs of mental states that very often we come in contact with, and they're called loka dhammas because loka means the world. These are worldly dhammas, and the Buddha tells us that it's very difficult for us to escape from these worldly dhammas. Trying to escape from them is kind of pointless. They're always going to be arising. If you're a human, you'll probably be experiencing these 4 pairs of dhammas. So I'd like to just talk a little bit about them this evening and just share them with you, because I found that they're to be very useful in my own life, in my own practice, and as a way of practicing in the world to really see where the triggering points are coming. We get triggered by unpleasantness. It's unpleasantness that is our undoing, being unable to note and know the unpleasantness of a situation leads to taking things personally, leads to reactions, which often lead to poor behavior, such as harsh or rude speech or actions that we later regret. So I'd like to give you these pairs to contemplate, to think about, and to understand that these dhammas, these things, are our teachers, and that we should be ready for them when they arise. The first pair is gain and loss. These two things we can never escape. Sometimes we'll gain benefits in some way. Somebody will give us money, or they'll give us a house, or they give us employment, they give us some clothing or a vehicle or any of those types of things, material things. They give us their love, gain, and is a natural part of being a human. Don't become too attached to the things that you receive, because loss is the other side of that coin. Be ready for loss. Loss always occurs. It's not something that you can escape. It's something which is natural and part of the worldly experience of a human. So, gain and loss. Be ready to lose things. Be ready to lose your financial independence. Be ready to lose your loved ones. Be ready to lose your reputation. Be ready to lose anything else, your power, your influence, and these types of things. Gain and loss. Sometimes money is coming to us, sometimes we're losing it. So be prepared for these dhammas, these teachers that come into our lives every now and then. And don't get too caught up in them. When, of course, be grateful if you receive something. But don't get too upset when you lose something, because this is a natural part of the human experience, and you'll never be able to escape these things. So the wise practice of Dhamma is to understand that, and to know that, wow, this existence as a human, actually there is suffering in this experience if we hold on to and attach to things. So look out for gain and loss. Another pair, the second pair, is praise and blame. Sometimes people praise you. Sometimes people blame you. You can even have the situation where you do something and somebody praises you and another person blames you. So what's going on with that? What's the situation there? It's a very strange one, isn't it? I recently read an article about a university professor who has his class assessment every year. And he said, yes, yet again, I was the best professor that they'd ever had. And other people said he was the worst professor that they've ever had. His unit or his subject was the best class they've ever taken, and his class was the worst class that they've ever taken. What do we do with that situation? Praise and blame. That's all it is. Don't take it personally. If you pick those things up, then you're going to suffer. If you get attached to praise, what happens when it disappears? You'll be upset by it. If you get attached to blame, what happens to that? Well, you get upset because you don't think people like you or want you or appreciate you. And so whatever people are doing, that's their problem. Your practice is to recognize that praise and blame occur. They are part of the world, and they will continue to be part of the world. And there's nothing we can really do to escape from them at all. But we can stop reacting to them. We can stop taking them personally. If people praise you for something, accept and receive their praise. And if somebody blames you for something, well, let it be like water off a duck's back. Make yourself into a Teflon frying pan that nothing sticks to. And just accept that some people are upset with you and some people are attracted to you. Not everyone's going to be attracted to whatever you're doing in this life, and not everyone is going to be repelled by you either. So there's probably going to be a lot of people in the middle. So look out for those things as they're arising. Praise and blame. The third the third pair is influence and obscurity. At some points in your life, you're going to be well known. People are going to recognize you. You may have a large circle of friends, and people will, maybe you become a little bit famous for some reason, or you become, people are interested in you, or you collect a lot of friends on Instagram, or followers, I should say, followers on Instagram, friends on Facebook, subscribers on YouTube, or you have a large social circle. Recognize that this is a worldly Dhamma. Sometimes these people stay with you, sometimes they don't. And that's okay as well. We need to learn to accept that sometimes we're going to be well known. And at other times in our life, we're going to be obscure. Nobody sees us. Nobody recognizes us. When we're backpacking through an exotic location, we're out in Morocco somewhere and nobody knows who you are or what you do or anything like that. You're just an obscure person. So accept that that's life. It's sometimes like that. And that's okay as well. So that's the third pair. We recognize that there is sometimes we're well known and other times we're just obscure in the world and nobody really cares too much about us. When we're in high school and university and through our 20s, we have large groups of friends. And then maybe as we get older, we end up in our 70s, maybe there's not too many people who even remember us. And we kind of end up with only a few friends. This is normal and this is natural. Don't get caught up on trying to get lots of followers, or don't be upset if somebody unfriends you for some reason. They're having a bad day or they're upset or they're not watching their mind in some way. So I'd like to offer you that. The fourth pair is happiness and pain. If you're a person in the world, if you're determined to have identity view, a personality view, then you're going to be sometimes experiencing pleasantness and sometimes you'll be experiencing unpleasantness. This is very normal. This is very natural. Don't think that life should be one continuous party, that there should be only pleasantness and may I never have any unpleasantness in my life. Well, that's just not possible, I'm afraid. The Buddha teaches us that part of the human condition is the fact that sometimes things are pleasant and sometimes things are unpleasant. What's important is that you respond with awareness and wisdom. You don't react with taking things personally. If you experience happiness, it's good to know, okay, this happiness is here right now. We're not saying that happiness is a bad thing. Joy is wonderful. Bliss is wonderful. When it's there, appreciate it. Appreciate it with your friends and your family. But know that it's also an impermanent phenomena. Happiness, pleasantness arises and it passes away. That is its nature. And with wisdom we come to understand that when happiness passes away, it feels unpleasant at that time. So unpleasantness is also a part of our human condition. We experience unpleasantness. It's like that. So sometimes when we have a bad day, let's just call it that, we're having a bad day, we're experiencing some unpleasantness, maybe we have some physical illness, maybe we're experiencing some depression or anxiety, maybe our body is not working the way that it used to, and so we're experiencing some unpleasantness. Also, we should recognize that this is impermanent. So it's also going to pass away. And it passes away more quickly when we're not identifying with it. If we identify with unpleasantness, then it generally tends to stay with us. Some people have made it their profession. Some people have seemed to think that holding on to unpleasantness is what should be done with life. And we hold on to unpleasantness for far too long. If we do that, it can develop into a chronic condition. We can end up with serious states of depression by holding on to different types of sadness or grief, or when we become upset with something, if we continually dwell upon it, or as the Buddha says, whatever a person frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of their mind. So that means that the mind is a conditioned state, and it's conditioned by your thinking. If you're constantly thinking and attaching to unpleasantness, then that will become your constant companion. So look out for pleasantness and happiness. Look out for unpleasantness and non-happiness or sadness, because these are part of the human condition. These are loka dhammas. So I'd like to just offer that to you, that you may practice during your daily life and try to do that. Try to see that these conditions in your life are very normal. These conditions are very common, and that there's no way of escaping them. They will arise. The way to let go of them, the way to get released from them, is to understand their nature, to experience them as impermanent, to understand that they're dependently arisen and conditioned, and ultimately to see that they're out of control. They're not me, they're not mine. They are, in fact, impersonal mental states which arise and pass away. And don't take the outside world so seriously. When we get too caught up in the world, when we think that it's very important to have lots of friends and lots of happiness, and that we should be getting rich and successful all the time, it can be difficult when those things are not happening to us at all times and forever. But understand that that's just the nature of our experience. So, another set of things that we can practice during our daily life, and this is very well known in Thailand and Myanmar. It's an ancient practice, and it goes way back even to before the Buddha. And there's a text in the Pali texts. It's all about the Buddha's past lives and what he did. And this particular practice is called the Dasa Barami. That means the 10 perfections. And these are 10 qualities that the Buddha was able to perfect during his previous 10 existences before he became the Buddha. So these are things that we can also practice, things that we can bring into our daily lives. This list of barami, or perfections, you should put this list on the fridge at home. Put it on the wall, frame it if you like, and try to practice them. These are things which lead to the lessening of your sense of self and the lessening of suffering thereby. It doesn't mean that you should have a low self-esteem. What it means is that the more you take things personally, the more selfish you are in this world, the more suffering you're likely to experience. And so these 10 perfections are qualities of the mind that we can develop, which will lead to states of happiness. So listen to these qualities and try to practice them every day if you can, or at least choose one of them every day and make an effort to actually practice them in your life. And when you do, you'll find that you'll be gaining more and more happiness from your experience. The first on the list is called dana. Dana means generosity or giving. Try to be generous. Try to be giving. Yes, it does mean giving money, but it also means sharing your time, sharing your expertise, giving somebody a hand, helping somebody move house, for example, giving somebody a meal, inviting somebody over that is, perhaps feeling a bit lonely and offering them a meal. Try to be giving in some way every day. Try to share your resources with those people who are less fortunate. You'll find that it's a wonderful practice. It leads to a great deal of happiness if you truly understand what the practice is. I said to one of you during the week that I did this with my little daughter last month, and it was a wonderful practice. She's 4.5 years old. We picked a couple of little daffodils that were growing beside the river, and then we went into the town and just walked along the main street of the town, and she went up to people and just gave them a flower with no words, just looked at them, offered them a flower and smiled and walked away. And we watched the reactions of those people. They felt very happy to receive such an innocent and sweet little thing. And my daughter also said that she felt very happy in doing that and that she wants to do it again. So learn that there is a great deal of happiness in giving. Receiving's good too, for sure. It's nice to receive things, but giving is something that can be very useful in your life. It reduces your sense of selfishness. It reduces attachment. It reduces holding on to things, using your time for other people, using your financial resources for other people, using your expertise for other people can really bring a great deal of joy. So that's one of the 3 big practices of the Buddha's teaching: dana, sila, bhavana. Dana means giving, sila means virtue, and bhavana means meditation. These are the 3 practices that the Buddha recommends us for reducing suffering in our lives. The second perfection, or barami, is called sila. Sila means virtue or morality. Try to be well disciplined in maintaining the 5 precepts. This retreat we've been practicing the 8 precepts. We've been going a step further. You don't have to practice the 8 precepts every day if you don't want to. In fact, the Buddha only recommends the normal lay people to be practicing the 8 precepts for 2 days a month, the full moon and the new moon days. So you can still practice the Buddha's teaching and listen to music. You can still eat afternoon. You can still eat. You can still live in a comfortable apartment and have a nice sofa and a bed. You don't have to sleep in a tent in the garden, eating only a few meals every day. No, it's not that. But sila is about maintaining our manners, making sure that our speech patterns are suitable and appropriate, making sure that our actions are suitable and appropriate, that we're not killing any other creatures, that we're not stealing from others, not taking what has not been given, and we're looking out for sexual misconduct, and we're looking out for telling untruths or lying, and we're reducing our intake of intoxicants so that they don't lead to unwholesome or negative experiences for others. most importantly. So be pure and clean in your dealings and practice sila. Sila has a very important role in our lives, and it's not widely understood why that is, but sila is the great regulator of, it decides which old karmic intentions get to manifest. We all have created billions of karmic intentions, both wholesome and unwholesome. They remain latent. They remain with potency, waiting to give their resultants at some point. And very often, what decides whether unwholesome intentions or wholesome intentions give their fruit is our practice of sila in this very life. So be aware of that. Try to keep yourself in a good condition. Try to maintain yourself with regard to your speech and your actions. The third perfection is called nekkhamma. Nekkhamma means renunciation. It means giving up and letting go of things, trying not to be selfish and self-possessive, but sacrificing sensuality, essentially, and letting go of things of that nature. So renunciation, perfect it. Learn to give up and let go of those things. You don't have to lead a boring life, but some things, as we grow older, we understand that it's time to let go of this now. It's time to relinquish this behavior. I had a good run with that. It was a good time, but now perhaps it's time to let that go and move on to practices and behaviors that mature the 5 spiritual faculties instead of impeding their development. The fourth perfection is panya. Panya means wisdom. Practicing vipassana is the greatest way of developing wisdom. To see things as they really are for yourself, this should be very highly encouraged. But you can also develop wisdom by studying the Buddha's teachings, for example, reading some books, listening to some talks on YouTube, or other ways of bringing knowledge into your life. The practice of wisdom and developing the practices so that we can see things as they really are. And also sharing that knowledge with others as well can also be a very effective way of developing deeper and deeper insight into the nature of things. The fifth perfection is called virya, or energy. Try to be diligent. Try to be ardent. Try to be resolute in whatever it is that you do. Try to practice things and try to finish jobs, for example. If you start something, you should always try to finish it. Have energy in what you're doing. Always try to give your best. You don't have to do everything, and you don't have to do everything at all times. But when you are doing something, try to give your best effort and develop this quality of energy, being energetic in the present moment, developing energy in whatever it is that you're doing until you achieve the results that you're looking for. The sixth perfection is called khanti. Khanti means patience. In fact, the Buddha has said that patience is the highest practice. Patiently enduring or tolerating the present moment is a very, very high level practice. Being able to be in the present moment with how things are right now is a practice in itself. So learn to try and do that practice if you can. Don't be thrown in the present moment. Don't be thrown into reaction of judgment or blaming or becoming angry or frustrated or annoyed about things. Know when you've been triggered. Notice when there is some flavor or aroma of unpleasantness in the present moment, and watch out. Try to observe that unpleasantness as it's arising and really feel what it's like to experience unpleasantness. You don't have to immediately try and get rid of unpleasantness. It's part of nature. It arises and it stays for as long as it needs to stay. It stays longer if you identify with it, and it leaves more quickly when you don't identify with it. So have patience with whatever is going on, especially with the people that are important in your life. Sometimes we just need to turn away without reacting to things. Try to, in your relationships with others, you don't always have to be right. If you know that you're right, then that's enough. You don't have to prove to them that you're right. You don't have to win every argument. Sometimes it's better to just keep silent and just acknowledge, okay, they have this understanding about the matter, and I have another understanding about the matter. Let's agree to disagree and be patient with other people's opinions and views. Other people's opinions and views are quite often useless and worthless anyway. So they're not worth getting upset about, they're not worth holding on to, and they're not worth creating a disturbance in our minds. So try to be patient. Patient is not something that comes automatically. Patience is a practice. It's something that we can do. And those people who have been through hard times are generally more resilient and more patient than others. If you've always had it quite easy, things have always gone well for you and you haven't had to struggle, then you probably get impatient with very small and little things. If the train's late for an hour, you can get quite upset. But if you've lived in a time or in a place where there are no trains, then just having a train is quite good. And so you don't get upset with that. That's a very simple example, but learn to have patience with the way things are in the present moment. Don't think that the way of improving your experience is to get things done faster or to get things done when you want them to be done. Quite often, improving our experience of life is just through being patient with the way things are. And in that way, we can be still and we can be present and we can develop tranquility in the present moment. And things are just like this right now. And that can lead to happiness. Patience. Patience is the highest practice. The seventh perfection is called Satcha. Satcha Barami. That means truth. Try to be truthful in all your dealings. Don't deceive anybody. Try to be honest in what you do, in what you say. Of course, lying is a part of that. But trying to be truthful to who you are, and what you expect from yourself. Be honest. Be polite with other people. And don't swerve from the path of truth. Don't leave the Dhamma. Take refuge in the Dhamma. Taking refuge, you've been chanting that in the evenings. Taking refuge is a wonderful and beautiful thing. It doesn't mean that we're becoming religious. It means that we're recognizing that the path of truth, the path of Dhamma, is the high road. It's something that we can aspire towards. It's something that we can bring into our lives, and something that we understand as higher and more developed than just our own sense of understanding of the world. We can aspire to truthfulness and aspire to Dhamma. The eighth perfection is known as Aditthana. Aditthana means resolution or determination. Be resolute in what you do. That means if you decide to do something, Do it properly until it's finished. Like a New Year's resolution. If you decide that, okay, this is the year I'm going to stop smoking, do it. Develop this mental power of resolution. You'll find that it becomes very, very strong. And as our practice of meditation develops, we develop the power of resolution in our practice. We do make adhitthans or resolutions to help us continue with the practice. And that gives us strength, that gives us power. You can actually bring a lot of power into the mind by developing resolution. And you can start with just very small things. Today, I'm not going to do this particular behavior. Or today, I am going to do this particular behavior. And whatever it is, whatever is happening in your own life, do it. Try to do those things and really stand up for your resolution and your determination. The ninth perfection is metta, or loving kindness. It's a development of the mind which is full of friendliness, full of goodwill, and full of love for other beings. Metta is something that you should strive to develop every day. In your interactions with other people, both informally and formally, try to develop this mind of friendliness towards other people. Try to perfect that. Metta, karuna, loving kindness and compassion, are states of mind which naturally start to arise in the mind when we reduce our sense of self. When we get that selfishness out of the way, when we don't start operating so much from that sense of person, of what I want, or what I want to get, or what I want to become. It must be this way, it must not be that way. When we start to reduce our sense of selfishness, then how do we operate? How do we live if we're not a person, if the world is not for us and we're not doing everything for ourselves? Where do we operate from? We operate from love. We operate from loving kindness. And it's a very special type of love. It's not the romantic love of falling in love with another man or a woman, but it's about falling in love with all beings in an unconditional way, in a way which you feel love towards, you feel a universal love, a love towards all beings, a compassion that just naturally starts to arise in the mind after you've had an insight into the nature of the mind and body process, and your sense of self gets temporarily removed for a few moments or a few minutes or a few hours. Then you'll start to experience love on a very different scale, on a very different level. Your heart will be full of love and compassion for other beings. And that's a good indication that your sense of self has all of a sudden gone into the background, and you start operating from this universal, unconditional love. And that is the base from which we should all be operating, in fact. The 10th perfection is upekkha. Upekkha means equanimity. We spoke about it this morning. Upekkha means the mind which is balanced. It's the mind which is serene. It's the mind which is undisturbed by both the troubles of the world and the successes of the world, by either pleasantness or unpleasantness. We're not addicted to pleasantness. We're not repelled by unpleasantness. We're cool, we're calm, and we're balanced. Please try to practice equanimity in your daily life. Try to see that you can be cool and calm when there's a storm when there's a storm all around you and trouble is everywhere. Who is going to be the one who can maintain the situation. If you're looking for a managerial position, if you aspire to management in a company, you'll need to develop upekkha, or equanimity. That's the position, that's the quality that large companies look for in managers. They want somebody who can manage themselves, who can remain equanimous in a difficult situation, who can maintain equanimous with difficult employees, or when there are big successes, things don't go to their head, when they don't become too proud or too boastful. And when things are difficult, then they're able to maintain and inspire the rest of the staff. So look for equanimity in your life. See if you can develop this great perfection. So these are the 10 perfections. I'll quickly go through them again. So some of you who are making the list, the first one is generosity, and then morality, and renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, resolution, loving kindness, and equanimity. So these are things that we can practice in our lives. These are things that we should try to practice in our life, that are wonderful and are beautiful. So if you'd like to know how to continue your practice of Dhamma, then this is the way. So, speaking of which, tomorrow morning you'll have the opportunity to practice the first of those perfections, dana, barami. If you have the opportunity, if you have the resources, please take the chance and give a donation to our meditation center. You can give a donation to me or to the volunteers as you like, to our guys there who are working hard to make the center function, who are working hard to give this retreat to you. We certainly appreciate it. Your ability to offer your financial resources is greatly appreciated and greatly valued. If you don't have great financial resources, then offer some service in some way. You may want to spend a few hours just sweeping up the place, or raking the leaves, or cutting the grass, or doing something like that. And you're very welcome to do those things. The practice of dana is very much undervalued in our societies. We often think that giving is something that should be avoided. We should try to attach to our things. We should try to get more and keep it. We go to great lengths of keeping and to avoiding sharing our resources with others. But this is not the way of Dhamma. So if you felt inspired, if you felt that the retreat has been very valuable for you, if you felt that it's something that should be continued to be shared with other people, then there'll be a donation box at the end of the retreat tomorrow. So please give a donation, or we also have a bank account you can make a deposit into. If you're feeling very generous, and some of you have been very generous, and we're extremely grateful for that. We're building some more meditation huts. We want to build another 20 of them. This year we'd like to build another 10 if possible. So if you have resources, if you have money and you'd like to contribute to our meditation center, then please do. You can build a hut or build half a hut. They cost about $4,000 to build a meditation hut. And if you are able to contribute in that way, well, we're very grateful and very accepting of your donation. And you also have a place where you can come and stay. You can always come to live at our retreat center and participate in the retreats. It's your little retreat hut on a tropical island in Thailand, and you're all welcome to come and do that. Thank you for listening to me. That's the end of our evening talk. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have this evening. If any of you have any, if you'd like to ask a question about the practice in some way, if something is still confusing you, or if something is, well, any Dhamma questions at all, I'm happy to answer them. Your microphone may be muted because I can't hear you. What a wonderful bunch of people you are. I'm so pleased and so happy that you've been in the hall this week. Wow, some of you have had some great breakthroughs, and some of you have had some wonderful experiences. I can't read it. You need to unmute on your side. We'll stop this Zoom call and we'll start it again.